This is going to be my reaction video to the Ravens preseason 20-19 win over the Eagles. I'm not sure about you guys, but I wasn't ready for prime time, and it looked like some of the offense wasn't either in the first quarter. I was having trouble keeping up in terms of documenting all the plays that I want to document and try to get all the information out to you guys as quickly as possible. Once the game's over, it takes a while sometimes for me to just upload the video. But I thought early in the game the Eagles just were dominant. I thought they controlled the first quarter and a half. Even though the Ravens got a touchdown at one point, really two big plays is how they generated that touchdown. I thought at one point, by my documentation, the Eagles had ran 22 plays and the Ravens had ran 3. I think that was after 2 possessions for the Eagles and 1 for the Ravens. Eagles offense was giving us problems in the first half. I did not think that we had answers for anything. We weren't stopping anything. Eagles were attacking us in the flats. A lot of those same side runs, a few RPOs. Oh, by the way, one of the things that I try to track is formations. I'm not going to show you the data for that necessarily right here, but I had the Eagles in slot A 8 times during the game, and 8 out of 8 times it was a run or an RPO. So I want to go back and double check that for myself before I put a video out on it or show some film. But I thought that was pretty interesting. A little bit of a tell there. Maybe the offenses are keeping things vanilla. I thought both of the first 2 quarterbacks for the Eagles were able to find open wide receivers. Things did not look great for the Ravens early. That receiver, Tyree Cleveland for the Eagles, was giving us problems. And the offense for the Ravens was flat through that first half. No real run game had been established. Now, does that indicate long-term issues with that? No. I'm just reporting on what I thought happened tonight. Eagles got a field goal on a 13 or 14 play drive. Marcus Mariota was making people miss and extending plays. Glad to see him still in the league. Glad to see him. Good match for him, I think, with the Eagles offense. Seemed like the Ravens were playing a lot of man, and Mariota was able to get outside. On the Eagles' second possession, Jeremiah Moon and Brent Urban, I thought, got some pressure on Mariota. Brandon Stephens was able, on a 3rd and 6, they got some pressure on him, and Brandon Stephens was able to get Mariota down. Otherwise, the Eagles were going to have another first down in Ravens territory on like the 30 or 34. As it was a 4th and 2. They missed a field goal. Ravens were able to get a touchdown. 2 defensive penalties drawn by Zay Flowers. Fun to see him out there on the field. Clearly, they were trying to get him the ball early because they knew he was only going to be on the field for so much. Then you had a long run by Justice Hill that was, pretty impressive. He reversed field and bounced it back outside up the right sideline. And Josh Johnson's out there trying to lead block. Then the 3rd down back shoulder touchdown to Duve. For me, I have a drastically different interpretation of Devin Duvernay than a lot of other people. I don't even need to see him in these preseason games. I thought it was pretty obvious that he was going to, outclass the DBs that he was matched up with, and he did on that play. Nice throw by Josh Johnson. And actually, I thought that throw was a conservative throw. I thought he could have put that throw a little further towards the sideline. Ravens didn't really get anything going offensively until Huntley came in and, to start the 3rd quarter. 13-play drive. They did convert 2 3rd and 1s, don't get me wrong. Gordon on a 3rd and 1, I think a 7-yard run. And then Keaton Mitchell on a 3rd and 1. Then you had the 3rd and 6 that I thought was huge. 2 plays before the back shoulder touchdown to Tylan Wallace, which was an amazing catch, okay? I'm talking about the drive to begin the 3rd quarter. 2 plays before that was one that I think is revealing, and I'm quite sure will translate over to Lamar. It's a 3rd and 6, and Huntley, I think, gets to his 3rd read, which was the receiver, Sean Ryan, who I think had 5 catches on the day, 4 catches, on 7 targets. It's a backside drag. It's a route I have talked about many times in video form, and Huntley hit Sean Ryan on it for a 9-yard gain. The backside drag was open underneath the coverage. I think Huntley was working right to left in terms of his reads, furthest right, and then the next one to the hat. And I will tell you this, one thing I think I noticed about Monken's offense, he likes to attack to the boundary a lot, specifically with the running backs. Anytime you see a tightly aligned receiver to the field, you should think about, as a fan, anticipating maybe that guy's going to run into the boundary from the field. There's something there I haven't been able to figure out yet because we've only seen, one game, but I think I see a couple of things in Monken's offense. Number one, he likes to attack to the boundary with the running backs. Number two, I think I might see some tendency about tightly aligned receivers to the field running into the boundary. But, I'll try to give you more on that later. Great catch by Tylan Wallace. I think made it 17-13 after really no excitement in the first half, hardly at all, except for that Justice Hill run and the touchdown by Duvo and the 60-yard field goal by Justin Tucker that, kind of gets swept under the rug because that's just who Justin Tucker is. I thought as impressive as the throw was to Tylan Wallace, because Huntley put it where no one else could catch it, I thought the throw on the 3rd and 6 to Ryan was even more impressive, for real. Ravens get the ball to open the fourth quarter, and it looks like they're on the move. And Huntley's finding Sean Ryan again a lot. I think he found him 2 more times on that drive. Hit him on a snag flat concept, but then that's when Salah got the face mask. It was a weird situation. Like, what do you face mask for? I didn't see the replay. I was watching NFL Network, and I thought the broadcast was poor. That's all I'll say. So ruined that drive for the Ravens, where it looked like they were coming down to score, and then the defense kind of came alive in terms of making plays. James Prochet had the fumble on the punt return. Defense is able to get a 4th down stop in the end zone. For me, I was watching NFL Network, and they're doing split screen at the time, so I could barely see it. But one thing I did know was Brandon Stevens was targeted. Man, when Brandon Stevens and Kevon Seymour are on the field, that's who's going to throw. It's almost like clockwork. Those guys are going to be targeted. I don't know, why that is or what teams are seeing, but they're seeing something, and they go at those guys a lot on that 4th and 2. The Eagles went after Stevens in the end zone, and tight end was unable to make a play, but I think his foot was out of bounds anyway. Then you had a fumble on the ensuing possession, I thought, and the Ravens were able to tack 3 points on. I think it was forced by Welch, but I'll tell you this, another guy that was there, man, was Daryl Worley. Daryl Worley was balling. I don't show you guys the defensive stats, but I have him up here on my screen. I got Daryl Worley with 6 tackles, 2 sacks, a tackle for loss, and another quarterback hit. I think a 3rd quarterback hit besides those 2 sacks. I guess one of the sacks was when Ian Book, who's very slippery, was moving outside the pocket, and Worley was able to go push him out of bounds, so I guess they gave him credit for the sack. Delshon Phillips had 10 tackles. I knew he was in on a lot of plays. I didn't know he was in on that many, to be honest with you. Seymour and a couple of the other DBs were involved. Man, it was really cool to see Malik Ham get that sack, being a Baltimore guy. Apparently he went to City College, which is a high school in Baltimore if you're not from the area. Missed opportunity on another one, though, later on. Ham could have really put on a show, coming from the blind side, the back side, and Book was able to spin out of there. That dude is extremely slippery. But in any case, 17-13, the Ravens are, 20-13, the Ravens are able to go up on a field goal. And then, Anthony Brown, he's a guy that throws the football. Regardless of what you think of it, he's a guy that'll throw the football. He went up top. Somebody in our Discord tonight even said, Anthony Brown's like the only quarterback we got that throws the ball deep. I don't think that's going to be the case in 2023. I think you'll see the Ravens attack downfield more than maybe we have in the past, but it's definitely true about Anthony Brown. He will throw the ball downfield, and unfortunately he threw that out, and Eli Ricks, an extremely talented DB, rookie DB, so I should say, from Alabama, took it to the house. I thought it was a bad decision by Brown to throw it. That's who he is. He's going to throw that football. So unique situation then. The Eagles go for 2 because it's preseason, so they want to get the lead. They don't want to go to overtime, obviously. And then Darius Washington, I thought that was a great play. It was a man situation. He's playing man. It's a tray formation, so you got tight end and 2 receivers to the Eagles' right. Darius Washington is manned up on the slot. He comes off to make the interception. I think there was still good coverage by whoever was guarding the number 1 receiver. That was the intended target. But if Darius Washington isn't there, the guy has a chance to catch the football. So I thought that was a unique situation for the Ravens to be able to, get the stop there after throwing a pick 6. Kind of crazy. In terms of the offensive stats, I'll show you guys some. Again, I'm not going to flash the defensive stats up here on the screen for you guys. One thing that I noticed immediately was how many guys touched the football. So very cool. Is it going to be that many guys touching the football in terms of receivers? You guys don't. Actually, I didn't realize it. You guys don't see all of them. My apologies. It cuts off with Laquan Treadwell down there at the bottom. Is it going to be like that in the regular season? No. That many guys are not going to touch the football in terms of receivers and targets. But I do think it speaks well to the offense, at least from what we've seen. We've only seen 60 minutes of it, that a lot of guys got targets. We did get Isaiah Likely in the game. We did get Zay Flowers out there. Duvernay, I don't need to see again in preseason. I mean, I just don't see it. I don't see where people are talking about he may not make the team. I just don't see it. The dude can play, and when he's healthy, will make plays, especially down there in the end zone. He did it again tonight. Did it early in 2022. The film shows it. Justice Hill is another guy, and Gus Edwards too. I don't know about you. It was nice to see Gus moving well. It was nice to see him performing. Don't get me wrong. But I don't need to see him in preseason unless there's a reason why he's out there. Somebody in our Discord said, or is he on like the trade block or something? Like, what is Gus? I don't know. Maybe my mind and my perception of Gus Edwards is different from yours, but I just don't feel like Gus Edwards is a guy that needs to be out there in the second or third quarter of any preseason game or really any preseason game for that matter. We know what Gus Edwards can do. We don't know what Keaton Mitchell can do. On some level, Melvin Gordon, I'd like to see him. If he's another, I think it was Tyrod in our Discord mentioned maybe Melvin Gordon is really good at pass pro. Maybe that's the reason why he's brought in. If you listen to my videos last year and in previous years, our running backs have never been that great at pass pro. They just have not. That's one of the reasons why Ricard was in on so many third downs was to be a part of the pass pro equation because our running backs, J.K. and Gus, were not very good at it. So maybe that's the reason why Melvin Gordon will be brought in. It'll be an interesting matchup for me. Or battle, I guess, to see between Melvin Gordon and Keaton Mitchell, who is able to make the team in terms of being on the active roster. I think they're both talented, and you can find reasons for both of them. I really did like watching Keaton Mitchell play. Had a 35-yard touchdown that got called back on a terrible hold by the left guard. Josh Johnson and Tyler Huntley. I mean, just watching the game, you may disagree with me, and that's fine. Just watching it, it certainly looked like Tyler Huntley was just quicker with his reads, understands, where to go with the ball. In the past, people have said Tyler Huntley is a one-read and run guy. Heard that before. All I know is that tonight I saw him make a 3rd and 6 throw to Sean Ryan, which I thought was critical. A back shoulder touchdown to Tylan Wallace. I thought Tyler Huntley played really well. For me, even though I really respect Josh Johnson, the fact that he's been with 14 NFL teams, and I think he's played with like 3 or 4 teams in other leagues during that same time period. For me, I feel like Tyler Huntley is our guy as a backup. But a guy like Josh Johnson would be great to have around if he's willing to stay in Baltimore, if he's not the backup quarterback, not active every week. Seeing Tylan Wallace and Devin Duvernay have touchdown catches, I thought was important. Gives those guys a starting point. Tylan Wallace is a dude I'd like to see more in the preseason games early, getting opportunities to see what he's capable of. Offensively, slow start in the first half, and then the offense really got going. I think Huntley is the spark tonight, at least. Let me show you guys the team stats. I think the Eagles outgained us 371 to 273. Yeah, there it is on the left-hand side of your screen. They outgained us by about 100 yards. First downs were, relatively even between the two teams tonight. I thought the Eagles' offense in the first half was damn near unstoppable. We weren't able to stop anything. We weren't able to prevent them from running the ball. We weren't able to prevent them from throwing the ball. When they ran the RPOs, they were getting what they wanted out of it. We didn't have our starters on the field, so I'm not alarmed by it. Don't get me wrong. But I would have liked to have seen us take something away. I'd have liked to have seen us decide on certain situations we're going to stop the run. It did seem like the Ravens played more man tonight than I think we'll see. I'm interested in something that is a theory of mine, a working theory, we'll say. Last year, I felt like in the preseason and early season, Mike McDonald played a lot of man, as I remember it. I may be misremembering it. Feel free to point that out to me. And then as the year went on, I felt like there was more quarter split field coverages played. And we became very adept at those things. And I thought that was very helpful defending Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals in terms of playing those split field coverages where Joe Burrow didn't know the coverage pre-snap, and he had to interpret the coverage during the play, which it doesn't mean we outsmarted Joe Burrow. It doesn't mean he's not an intelligent quarterback, because he certainly is. It means we gave him enough to think about in the split second and a half after the ball was snapped that he didn't know where to go with the ball immediately. What's my point? Why am I mentioning all this? I feel like maybe Mike Macdonald's a guy who wants to see who can play man and who can't, because maybe he knows how to teach the quarter split field stuff, or whoever's responsible for him. I don't know. It's a working theory. It's not something that I'm locked into. To be honest with you, the Eagles did have 154 rushing yards tonight. I got them at I think it's 4.5, 4.6 per carry. We only we only threw for 139 on 31 attempts. Zay Flowers, a guy, who when he's in the game, if Zay Flowers plays a quarter and a half of this game tonight, I think he pops a big pass play. I do. He looked that explosive to me. He looked like he was going to be difficult to cover for those guys. Ravens only had 24 minutes time of possession and only had 7 rushing first downs. We were very fortunate that the Eagles, as fans, we were very fortunate that the Eagles chose to go for 2 and not kick the extra point and tie the game at 20, and then force us to be in a situation as fans where we had to, look at the Ravens maybe going to overtime. I don't even know if they do overtime preseason games. It would be smart if they do not. The turnover by Anthony Brown, I kind of like his mentality. I'll be honest with you. I kind of like his mentality that he's willing to throw the football. He's certainly got to find moments to make better decisions than that. Tell me what you guys think. Some of the guys that played in these games, I don't really need to see play a whole lot. Devin Duvernay, Gus Edwards, Justice Hill. Somebody has to play running back, right? Somebody has to play running back. So I understand if you got to get those guys in there. But we know what Justice Hill can do. He's a demon on special teams. He'll give you everything he's got as a running back. If somebody ahead of him on the depth chart goes down and you need Justice Hill to step in and get 10 or 12 carries, look what he did last year when he got opportunities. I thought he played well. He's a guy who has more ability than he gets to show with this Baltimore organization, because we've had J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards overlapping with his career here. Another guy I'd like to see a lot, I want to see more of this other tight end, Travis Vokalek, to be honest with you, but Charlie Kolar. I would love to see him get more targets. He did get 2 targets, fumbled one of them out of bounds. And then some of the big X receivers, Laquan Treadwell, Tariq Black. I'm not sure that he's necessarily X receiver, and then Shamar Bridges. I'd like to see them a little bit more over top of Devin Duvernay. I think Devin Duvernay's on this football team. Somebody else, maybe Sean Ryan is a guy who's going to be a better football player than people project him as. You guys, I was having trouble, to be honest with you, in the first half, being super excited about the game, even though it's the first time we've seen Ravens football in a long time. Felt like the offense was lacking something. And then the moment Huntley comes in, and I forget what the announcer was that pointed out, Huntley's learning a new offense too. It's not like there's going to be 40, 50% carryover from last year's offense. It's all brand new. Terminology, checks, reads, everything is going to be brand new for Huntley, just like it's going to be brand new for Lamar. So I can't say, oh, Huntley's used to the offense. That's why things clicked for him immediately as he came in. I think it's clear he's our guy as the second string dude, and that's not discounting Josh Johnson. Again, I like the guy. I just thought our offense looked really bad, except for that second drive where we had the benefit of the huge run by Justice Hill, I think 37, 38 yards. I think we did get a penalty early in that drive, but I could be wrong. Maybe the penalty was on the first drive on Zay Flowers. Now that I think of it, I believe it was. And then we had the 3rd and 6 touchdown to I think it was a 3rd down to Devin Duvernay for 7 yards. We very easily could have settled for a field goal there if Devin Duvernay's not on the field. Then we go punt, and then a field goal to end the half, only down 13-10. And the offense looked, pretty stagnant to that point. Would love to hear what you guys think in the comment section. If you had as much trouble as I did, whatever you normally do during a game, you might just sit and watch the game. I try to document all the plays. I try to down, distance, personnel, all those things. I have it. I'll try to put it up in a shared document in the description, and people are willing to grab it if they want to and download it, whatever. I'm gonna do that during the regular season. Try to make sure that I share them as much as possible. Early in the game, we had some guys on the field that I was expecting to be dominant, and they weren't. David Ojabo didn't look dominant to me. I did see him in on 2 plays early, one of which he got credit for a tackle, I think. Another one, I don't think he got credit for the tackle, but he was involved in. I think it was a run play. Another read play where he's the read man. He kind of stayed out wider than I would have thought, and Mariota gave it to the running back like he should, and the running back just basically brought it downhill. And when I say the Ravens weren't stopping anything, what I mean is, like on the zone read plays, I'm not saying he should just go hell-bent down and take the running back. Then Mariota's going to keep it and run around the edge. I thought Ojabo could have done a better job playing a half man there, meaning play the outside half of the running back and play the inside half of the quarterback if the quarterback keeps it. Different ways to teach it, and even talk about it, but half man is one way that I refer to it. And I didn't think Ojabo played it as well as I have seen Owe, Bowser, and others play it in the past. Travis Jones, I thought the snaps he was on, I don't know how many snaps he played. It looked like maybe the first 2 or 3 possessions he was in and out, and I thought he had some really nice plays. 2 run plays he stacked up, one of which I think was credited to 53, the inside linebacker, Phillips. But I thought Jones was the guy who stacked it up and forced the ball to not be able to cut back and not be able to bounce. Jones is just a monster. I didn't think Malik Harrison looked extremely consistent, even though he started the game like a house of fire. He had a sack early on, and he did have 2 tackles on pass plays. After that, I thought he kind of got lost a little bit. When they move him up on the edge as like a 5-1 look, I'm not sure. I've just never liked that. I would prefer, if they're going to move him out on the edge, keep a 2 inside linebacker structure. So basically have 4-3 personnel on the field. Let Harrison walk up on the edge. When they walk him up on the edge and the Eagles go zone read twice early in the game, Harrison goes with the running back. Quarterback keeps it, gets around the edge. Additionally, I thought Tavius Robinson, and I might be wrong on this one, I thought Tavius Robinson lost contain one time early. It may have been the 3rd down, where Mariota got scrambled to get the first down on the 3rd and 13. The second time that Mariota was able to get the left edge, I don't believe Tavius Robinson was on that side. I can't remember who it was, but I thought I saw a nickel blitz. It does seem to me, getting back to the defense, it does seem to me that Mike McDonald's defense kind of evolves or morphs over the course of a season. And again, this is a working theory I've got. We've only seen one complete season from him. But I remember last year's preseason and early in the year, and as the year progressed, I thought his defense changed somewhat. I thought his defense kind of moved towards something that it didn't show markers of earlier in the year. Maybe that's not true. Maybe that's me reading too much into things. But it's an interesting. It's a working theory that I have, and I'm going to continue to keep that thought in my mind. I thought the running backs for the Eagles, Rashad Penny and DeAndre Swift, looked good. Even Trey Sermon, even though he did have like 3 or 4 very short runs where he got stacked up later in the 3rd and 4th quarter. But I thought Swift and Penny looked explosive. Those guys are going to have a hell of an offense to stop. Schematically, a lot of the things they do are brilliant. That 4th down conversion, where I think Rod Woodson on the broadcast was talking about Seymour's got to run with him. I mean, it's a design pick play. I don't think if Rod Woodson gets a second chance to look at it, I think he'll correct himself from the standpoint of you can't blame Seymour when Greg Ward, I think it is, was on the left side of the offense, ran all the way across the back side, and the receiver to the right, for the Eagles' right, picks Seymour as he's running across. It's an impossible cover. It's basically a triple option play, with Ward being the pitch man out into the flats to the right. It's very difficult to stop it when you're playing man, and that's why I'm talking about the Ravens playing man so much. I felt like last year, early in the year, they played a lot of man, and certainly tonight I thought they did as well. You guys let me know if you were as slow to get started as the Ravens offense and I was. I'll share the notes for the game if anybody's interested in the description. I guess make it a shared folder where you can download it. If you're interested in doing that in the regular season, I definitely want to make that something I do and make available to people. I really enjoyed watching the veterans get on the field because they can make plays, but I don't really want to see them anymore in the preseason, for real. I'll be honest with you. I want to see, but other teams do things differently. The Jacksonville Jaguars, I think, played their offensive and defensive starters for like 1 or 2 possessions tonight. So, I understand if the Ravens move in that direction in the 2nd and 3rd game, but I would like to see some of these middle-tier guys get their opportunities And I guess it's just difficult for me to accept that Devin Duvernay might be one of those guys. It's tough for me to hear when I've seen him make so many plays for this team in the past. Anyway, I appreciate you guys' time listening to the reaction video. Hopefully you enjoyed watching the Ravens for the first time in months, and we get to do it 2 more times before the real thing starts. If you think other Ravens fans or other Eagles fans, for that matter, might enjoy this content, this reaction video, please consider grabbing a link to this video and sharing it out on social media to help it get more reach.